How are we doing, everybody? We're going to start off today's workouts with a little bit of bare hand short hop work. Bare hand short hop work can be done anywhere and everywhere in your house, in your bedroom, in the garage, if you have a cool facility to go to, out at the field. Bare hand work is one of the most underrated workouts in my opinion, but it's also one of the most effective. You can use a variety of ball implements. You can use a regular baseball, you can use a tennis ball. If you have one of those rope bats, these smush balls are pretty cool, a racket ball, or these small foam golf balls. All of these can be a great option to work on your bare hand short hop work. To get started with your bare hand short hop work, going onto 2 knees is a great way to save the legs, save the low back, especially when we're doing a lot of repetitions. When we're setting up, we want to make sure that our knees are fairly wide apart, not so wide that we are like touching our booty to the ground, but not so narrow that we have to hunch over to get to the ground. When we're getting set up, we want to make sure our butt is not touching our heels and we're not sitting low. We want to get in that athletic posture with our chest and chin over our working space. You can start off with any ball that you want to. Going from light to heavy is a great option, heavy to light, or mixing it up. I'm going to start with the baseball for now. Now what we're going to work on is our forehand extensions. We're extending the elbow, working through the baseball. This would be a great time to use this for that short hop that's a little farther out in front of us on the run and getting that extension through that ball. 2 points of focus on this. One, when we're making contact with the ball, we want to try to have the baseball hitting in the pads where you get blisters when you're working or climbing the monkey bars, and instead of the palm. Our palm doesn't squeeze very well, but our fingers squeeze really nicely. So when we're doing bare hand short hop work, try to make the ball touch the pads of your hand and then lining up in the fingertips or the softer area of our hand. When we're extending through, you should have your palm extending through towards the location that the ball came from if you were getting ground balls. It should look something like this. Ball about chest high, give it a nice little drop, and then as soon as the ball touches the ground, we're extending through, showing the palm to our partner. Notice again, the ball is not in the palm of my hand, it's in the pads of my fingers and the pads of my hand where you get blisters from when you're working or doing any sort of climbing. Very soft, small movement through the baseball. Drop, extend through. Drop, extend through. You can start going a little faster and a little faster as you're working. The more we stay over with the chest, the more we're going to train that proper body posture. And the more we stay close to the body and then extending through, we're going to train that awesome extension through the ball instead of pulling the glove up, letting the ball go between our feet. Drop and extend through. Once you get kind of good at it, you can start challenging yourself and moving it around locations, working through all the time. Every rep, make sure that ball is touching on the pads of the hands, the fingers are grabbing, and then the thumb is lightly keeping that ball in our hand. 2 very common mistakes or faults that we see a lot, especially the younger players. The infielders love to kind of curl the hand up and they bring the fingertips towards the chin or the face because they want to see that ball come into their hand. The biggest fault I see is when they drop it, or the younger players, they'll drop it, they'll let it bounce big, and then they'll curl it and bring it to themselves because they have that kind of that curl motion. It's a developmental issue. It's a developmental comfort that the younger guys have. They're very strong this way. They don't like to extend out. But the biggest part is when you see this one, congratulate them on, hey, you got it in your hand or you got the repetition done well, but we need to correct that and extend through, showing the palm outwards. There, instead of that one. Another common fault, or the second common fault I see, is the arm or the elbow being locked out or extended, kind of with that long catapult sort of arm position instead of that nice bent elbow and athletically coming through. We don't want to have that locked arm because then that causes us to really have a big motion. We want to have a small, controlled, slow motion. If we start getting these really big sweeps or these long catapults, we're really minimizing our ability to be soft and feel the extension through the baseball. We can mix these up with the smush balls if you have them. Tennis balls are great. Foam golf balls are also really helpful and beneficial because they're so light. It makes us have a really soft touch. And then the dexterity of the hand, because it's so small, makes us really focus on the fine feel instead of that big swat motion like some guys will do with the baseballs. So when you're working that nose to foot or nose to left foot drop area for those short hops, you can start off with a small foam golf ball, a smush ball, or a tennis ball. Either one's gonna be fine. I like to start with the small one, get that fine touch, and then we can work our way up to the baseballs. Kind of mix the areas around from nose to where your foot would be. Then you can go up to a smush ball. It's still very, very light, but it's starting to get to that baseball size. Again, as soon as that ball touches the ground, we want to be working through it as short and efficient as possible. Bent elbow, small motion, posture over. We're not sitting back on our booties being lazy. Get that posture over, hips off your heels, extending through. Playing the game low, working on those nice little short toss, short hops. Then you go up to the tennis ball. You can kind of pick up the speed a little bit because this is a little more game-like. All sorts of locations, a little closer to you, a little further away. Again, the ball is hitting us in the fingers and the pads, not the palm. Then you can finish up with that baseball, starting outside of your frame, working to the middle of your body where your belly button or your nose is. So once you've completed all the forehand work, we can go ahead and rotate our body 90 degrees if you need to, or we can just turn our hand. The barehand backhands is one of the most difficult things for those young players to get. Young players to me, 7 to 12-year-olds, depending on their experience level. The backhand portion of this is very difficult to learn at first because all the kids want to have a really big sweep motion and they want to lock this elbow out and pull their wrist up. Again, it's just a developmental thing. As we're younger, we're better at pulling things into us. We want to have things close to us. So all the kids try to curl the ball up when they're fielding it with a forehand, or they want to pull it up like this with a backhand. We kind of get that wrist bent up. We want to keep the palm to the ground and extending at the elbow with, again, a nice, small, short, controlled motion. For beginners, I would suggest you start with a baseball. You have two ways to start this. You can have your fielding hand down, baseball in front of it on the outside of your arm, or you can bring it on the inside. Either way is fine with me. I don't have a preference. I like both ways. In fact, I mix it up on purpose for the kids so they don't get used to one way or the other. But using the short hop backhand method can be a great way to start off your day. Hand starts facing the ground with your palm to the ground, small elbow bend, small drop, and again, minimal time from the ball touching the ground to your hand. It's not a big sweep motion with my shoulder. It's a small extension and a small movement with the shoulder, palm staying to the ground throughout the exercise. Again, we're trying to avoid the ball hitting our palm. We want it in the pads of the hand with the fingers grasping lightly. You notice I'm switching up what side of my body or arm I'm dropping it from. Minimal time from the ball touching the ground until it's touching my hand. You can then go down to a tennis ball for that nice light dexterity feel. So we're working on mixing up where we're tossing it and how tall of a toss, where it's coming from. But again, it's just that little short hop extension we're working through. Palm staying to the ground, extending through the baseball. We're not picking up and we're not sweeping way up to the sky. Then you can go down to a light smush ball. These are from that rope back company. These are great little hand-eye coordination trainers. Very light, small dexterity feel. Then we can go down to a golf ball. Super challenging. I would suggest probably using the middle finger, index finger, and the thumb to try to squeeze through these. You mess up, it's all good. Pick it up and keep going. That's what we're here to work on. If we're not making mistakes, I would suggest that you pick up your speed or challenge the rapidness of how you're tossing them. If we're not making mistakes, we're not challenging ourselves. And if we're not challenging ourselves, we're not going to grow. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it helps you out in your upcoming season and gets you a little bit better this year. Please subscribe and like this video. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Look forward to seeing you again.